This is Dr. Daman Walia. Daman is from India, and he reaches back 3,000 years. 3,000 years, remember that. Going to the Vedas. And these religious texts spoke to him as he came to the United States and he learned about Christianity. So the Vedas, Hindu, fast forward, Christianity in the United States. And so he was getting his undergraduate, master's, doctorate degree in sciences and mathematics, and was trying to think about, what am I going to do? Because even at that early age, he realized, because he landed here with $8 in his pocket, and then now he's a PhD and has his own companies. And so what he learned over the years as he's doing his doctorate work and research afterwards is that I can take this product that nobody really wants, and he was challenged by a major coal company. What can you do? Because nobody wants our product anymore, and they're trying to get away from us, and we're going to go bankrupt. So he started doing the research, and he says, going back to the Vedas, and developed a product now that's pure humic material and can take a ton of coal, which may be monetized at $35 to $50 a ton, and he can monetize it about $4,500 to $6,000 per ton. He's been working on this in countries all over the world to grow crops and produce food and to absorb carbon. This is really the point of why he's here today. Daman Walia, come on.
Good afternoon. Thank you so very much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. Thank you, the organizers, the Rotary Club. Some of you probably read my background. I go back to Rotary when I was only about 10. My grandfather was a president of Rotary Club in Naba, in India, in Punjab. And the Rotary Club meetings used to be held at our home. So my job was to serve tea. But I got to know some of the projects my grandfather was doing. So over the years, I've always had a fascination with the Rotary and the wonderful work, the volunteer work you are all doing all over the world. Remarkable. So I'm a scientist. So I'm going to start from there and share with you my perspective and the approaches how we can address these major issues we are facing globally. Even today, large populations are in a serious, dire situation because of the flooding and many other weather-related events are happening. So I'm here to really, if you look at my title, I'm here to make a plea to the almost, I understand you're about 1.4 million, that's what Sam tells me, but 1.1 million Rotarians worldwide. What I'm here to seek the Rotarians to support the carbon farming, and I'm going to explain how that works, and to help to reach net zero and mitigate the adverse impacts which we are facing, and like Rotarians did with the with the eradicating the polio. So we need organization like yours who can do things in a real ways to help them to get these solutions deployed. So what brought me to US was as I used to go sit down and in our library and at the Punjab University in India, we used to look at these magazines and see that articles being written from America, that the science being developed here. And so the intrigue was that in America, not only they develop, but they deploy. But my 55 years of experience has been, we develop, others steal, and then they come back and sell us because we're the most creative society and the resources we have. But when it comes to deployment, it's very, very challenging. So my 55 years of journey has been to create ways to get these solutions deployed. Now, why coal? Sam mentioned that everybody's running away from coal. And I became involved. When I came here, I used to pay 23 cents a gallon for gasoline. 1973, kind of changed that, the first oil embargo. And so I became involved with helping create solution for energy sector. And I failed like many other scientists did. For, 5, 6 times oil prices go up, they come down, they go up, they come down. And we, still cost about 73% of the oil worldwide cost only about $3 a barrel to produce. But we're letting this OPEC stay in place. So a lot of technologies failed. So I said, I'm going to figure out a way to use this coal in a different way. So I came to conclusion that coal is really not a fossil fuel, as you hear about. The fossil is something where plant tissues have been changed with the rocks or minerals, and whereas a coal is still is a woody material, so it's really a biomass. So from looking at from that perspective, I created a whole new technology of using the microbes from the termites. Termites digest wood. For me, coal is nothing but coming from wood. It has a similar attributes and similar. So from using that approach, we created a ways to produce not only clean fuels, but also produce humic products, which Sam alluded to, that going back to the Romans recognized the importance of the soil, the humus, that's where the word comes. And of course, coming from an Indian culture, Vedic books are written which describe about the how to grow our food to nourish ourselves, protect ourselves. Is the basis is the soil, and it has a juice or a soul, and that is what humic material is. So I'm going to show that how this can be a way to create a carbon farming. Today, we are, having a huge weather related. Right now, in fact, there is a huge rains are pounding here in Georgia. There was 5 people, died in Florida in the last week. Same thing is happening in India and many other countries. Huge calamities are happening. So the World Meteorological, Organization, they've been putting out that they've been almost in the last 50 years, 11,000 weather-related disasters have happened, and it has caused about several million people have died and $1 trillion of loss to the economy. So, where a lot of solutions have been put forward in the last, going back to almost since Al Gore wrote a book, Earth in the Balance, and the carbon suddenly became one of the issues to address. So a lot of solutions which are been put forward are costly, technical challenges. So the Bloomberg says, well, to get the solution deployed will cost us $196 trillion or $200 trillion. Where's that all kind of that money will come? So the insurance companies are saying if we don't deploy the solutions, the losses which we are seeing, this is going to cost a huge trillions of dollars, about $26 trillion every year to the world economy. So the impacts are so humongous. So for the first time in 2015, this is the first time in a world, all the countries have come together and they signed what is called UN Paris Agreement. Prior to that, there was an agreement called Kyoto going back in the mid-90s, and not much happened. So under the Paris Agreement, they said, well, we need to decrease the carbon emissions because carbon emissions are leading to a greenhouse. Simple fact, what is our nature? Our creator had set up this planet with the energy coming from our sun, and it comes to us in a form of UV light. As it comes into our atmosphere, it turns into infrared or heat. And then if this heat was not going back, this planet will keep on heating because sun is always there. So it created a way that most of that heat to go back. Only small amount is kept. So that creates this makes our planet to be a sustainable, so life forms can sustain on it. But then there's what is called greenhouse gas effect, which is that as you well know that if you have even in your home a room with a lot of glasses, that sunlight comes in, energy comes in, and then that portion of the house becomes hot. That's called greenhouse. So same way the carbon dioxide has that same ability. it will allow the sun energy in form of UV to come out, but when it goes out, it retains it. So our planet becomes like a big greenhouse. So the heat is then increasing. So that's what is greenhouse effect, and that's what is causing all these imbalances. And so we need to figure out a way to do this. So since 2015, in fact, I was at the Davos in 2024, about a few months ago in Switzerland, and one of the comment was made that no progress has been made. A lot of, all these countries, 196 countries, they signed that agreement. They said, okay, this is what we're going to reduce so much. And all kind of, reports have been made, all kind of stuff has been made, but basically not much progress has been made. So we are here, and also the guidance was by 2030, we will reduce by 50%. And the other target is that by 2050, we'll get to net zero. So we're not there. And so the experts are saying that we're at a point of no return. United Nations organization, which is looking at this whole issue, their executive secretary is saying we are at a point of no return. It's now at a stage we just have this continuous problems will happen, and that's what we are seeing. We're seeing the extreme weather adverse impacts all over this planet. So there's executive secretary, in fact, when they meet every year. These are called COP meetings. Last year meeting was held in Dubai, and in fact Rotary was one of the major organization as a part of the Blue Zone. And so their executive secretary said we need a bullet train to really push this thing to a solutions, but no bullet train came about. So now he's saying that this year the COP meeting will be held in Baku, and he's saying that countries don't come to us with your aspirations, come to us with your actions. So this is where we are. So our challenge is, how do we then fix this problem? When I look at globally, what are the leaders saying? The Chinese president, Xi, is saying that yes, we need to address, but we need to maintain normal life, which I agree with him. That we cannot just retrench. And as some are saying, stop eating meat, stop doing this thing, stop doing that. But people are not going to do that. And worldwide, the populations are seeking to increase their level of standard. We cannot say that, guys, we can have a high living standard, but you cannot. They want also to have what the developed countries have. So Prime Minister Modi, India's Prime Minister, is saying we need to continue to use coal. In fact, we're going to increase the amount of coal use. In Poland, because of this current Ukraine situation, so they're going back to coal. Germany is going back to coal, and so are many other countries. So our government here, who is one of the leading in this field, they're trying to say, well, please, let's retrench. And it's not happening. So let me explain to you how this scenario we are in. So when we look at our planet, we have 5 major storehouses of carbon in it. And this is a unique planet. We are out there poking around and we found a lot of similar minerals, elements, and other things, but we have not found the unique organic matter, which is what makes this planet viable. So on the left, it shows in a pie chart that the largest carbon storehouse is in our sedimentary rocks, which are limestone, dolomite, and those type of things. We take some of it out to make into cement, but mostly it is stable. Number 2 are what we call fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas. So going back to since mid-18th century, when the Industrial Revolution started with using a coal, then come along oil and gas. So we've been pulling this out and burning it and increasing the carbon dioxide in the air. Number three are the oceans. Oceans cover 70% of our land mass, so they absorb carbon dioxide. Number four are the soils. So the soils have this organic matter, which is the most stable form of carbon storehouse. And fifth is in the air. So what we are doing with our human industrialization, we're impacting the four of these storehouses. And out of that, the two most are the one going in the air, which is what is causing the greenhouse gas effect. But also people are not paying attention. We're also stripping the soil. So what, as a scientist, I said, we need to always make the nature do the things for us. Those will be practical and most cost effective. So we need to rebalance it, take it from the air and put it into the soil. So this is where this product we make from coal, which Sam mentioned, the humic product, because coals are essentially a biomass, and they are very rich in humus material, which is Romans recognize, Indians call it a juice of soil. So I said coal can be a terrific source for producing this humic material, and this can then allow us to increase the growth of the plants, makes the roots bigger, so we can have the photosynthesis or let the plants take more carbon from the air and store it into the soil. So we can create a balance. Because currently what we have, if you look at the bottom, on the left is where we are today. Yes. Yeah. So on the left, you can see that we're out of balance. So that's where it has shifted to the higher temperature. So we need to bring this balance, increase the amount of carbon taken from the air or create a more sink. So that's the basic principle of this, what I call carbon farming. So let me share with you. If we just take our total farm areas in the world are about 38 billion acres of land. And if we apply only on a 10%, and based on the work we have done on actual farms, not in a lab, but in actual real world in many places, that use of this product, we can capture 10 tons of carbon dioxide per acre per year. So if we apply only on a 10% of that 38 billion, which is about 3.8, so that will give us to capture 38 billion tons or bring it to net zero. That was our emissions in 2022. So we can start it tomorrow because we have farmers getting up every morning. They're going out, tilling the land, managing it, producing food. And also with doing that, they will increase their crop yields by 20% minimum. Some are even getting higher. Also, they will increase the nutrition, especially the protein, which is one of the big issues globally, that a lot of crops we are growing, the nutritional content of the food is decreasing. And number three, they will increase the soil health, because currently they're about 60% of the soil worldwide is degraded. So we're turning a planet which we had a very fertile soil, we are turning into desert lands. And I've seen it in many countries. There is a number of now regulatory acceptances coming out based on my petition to the European Union Commission last year. This year, they announced a policy, and carbon farming is the number one approach. France has actually established an approach to increase the carbon in the soil by 0.4% every year. The US is behind. US is kind of pushing the wrong technologies, and that's why after spending billions, we continue to fail. So I need to change this. This is something you may not have heard, that why State Department, Mr. Tony Blinken, is interested in soil. In fact, this was the first time ever at the Davos, which, if you know, is one of the most premium conference which is held every year in Davos, Switzerland. This was the first time they had a session on soils. And Mr. Blinken was the leading speaker on that. So he made a case that we need to get our soils right, we need to get our seeds right, and we will then solve the problem. And he even makes a case that the humans, he tells about the humus, and he also makes a case that we human beings came from humus. In fact, that's what Indians say too. They say, we came out of the soil and will go back into the soil. So there is some element of wisdom which has been floating around for centuries in our cultures. What is a soil? Soil has a mostly minerals, it has a air, it has some water, but it has a very small amount of organic matter and the microbes, which is what makes the soils to be soils. Otherwise, it's a sand. And so in the organic matter, what it is, it's the humus, or which is called, it has made up of different components. So academics have been studying this for a long time. That's nothing new that we don't know, but we are not using it. Here's what United Nations Food Agriculture Organization says, that the soils are degraded. About we're losing about 25 billion tons of soil every year. The topsoil, India 6 billion tons, US is all in the same direction. So they've been created a year of soil. Every year, the meetings are held, talked about it, but nothing gets done. Here is a US from the World Bank's agriculture experts report saying that today the world produces about $5 trillion worth of economy with agriculture, but its adverse impacts are costing $6.3 trillion. So we have a net loss going, and he gives actually breakdown of each one of those because of the current approaches of our practices which are going on in the agriculture sector. And I'll be happy to explain you a lot more of those because there's a lot more details behind it. How does this product I make from coal, how does it helps? It has ability to provide a biological benefits, has ability to provide chemical benefits, and as you cumulatively apply, it impacts the physical properties of the soil. So it has a ability to interact with the soil minerals. In fact, the Indian Vedic books say that not only this is juice of soil, but also this has an ability to take the nutrition out of the soil minerals and give it to the plants. So you have to wonder, it's only in the recent years since World War II, when we built factories to make a lot of bombs and explosives, that these same chemicals were taken into the agriculture, which is what drove the Green Revolution in the 50s. But our nature has been sustaining vegetation on this planet for millions of years. How? Because this organic matter in the soil had ability to take it out of the soil minerals and give it to the plants. So that's how our nature had given us. But we have kind of tried to do it. And whenever we do something against nature, it fights us back. So that's where we are. So there's a lot of science. Books are written on it, nothing new. Now, let me give you a real world example. This is a farmer here about 50, 60 miles in Gordonsville, Virginia, who's been using, he inherited a land from his father, whose father was using it for growing tobacco. And the land had been devastated because of the excessive use of chemicals. He could not grow. So he decided to see what can he do to improve the soil health. And he started using my product. And based on, his soil had about 1% organic matter going back about 10 years ago. So now it's up to, 5%. And now recently showed data with me, it's about 7.5%. So based on that numbers, we calculated that he was capturing, with the use of our product, he was making the roots grow bigger, plants grow bigger. They were capturing more carbon from the air. So he was capturing about 10 tons, net 10 tons of carbon dioxide per acre per year. And while increasing these crop yields. So that shows, that his organic matter was about 1%. Now it's about 5%. And he doubled his, crop yields. He grows soybean, corn, and wheat. And in between, he will grow sorghum. So the crop yields, and then he's using less chemicals. The farmers are excessively using these chemicals, which are not only adversely impacting the environment, but they're not benefiting. That's what what the World Bank expert says. So with this product, he's been able to produce about 60 kilogram of food with only 1 kilogram of input. The average is around 25. In India, the experts are reporting that the number has gone down to about 6 or 8 kilograms per kilogram of input of these fertilizers. So huge challenge we have and huge opportunity we have to fix it. Here's a fellow who came from India, and he says, help me to make our soils like this. So I've been now supporting in India many farmers. I'll share some of the data with you. Again, I want to also share with you that the trees, that's again our nature's way to do it. And Rotary has a major initiative to help plant trees. But the challenge we have is unless the trees are managed, we will have issues. In fact, some of the Rotarians had shared that they planted trees in some place in India. They are no longer are surviving. So I'm making a case that we should plant trees on the farmlands. Most of the farms have a 10% buffer zone where they can plant trees, or wherever we do. So they're sustained. So by doing both, we can increase the carbon capture from 10 tons to as much as maybe 12 or 14 tons. But the trees also take longer time. According to the Kyoto, they have to grow up to about 1 meter in height. And so it's usually will take about 4 to 5 years before trees can start capturing. Whereas by growing crops, you start it from the day one when you start using this product. I've done a systematic evaluation of many countries. Here I've just taken an example of Tanzania. I've done in many African countries, about 10, 15 of them. Africans have a huge agriculture lands, and the largest population is in farming, and they are in a dire situation. So, and their per capita carbon emissions are the lowest in the world compared to industrialized countries. Our numbers are very high. So what I have shown them that if they adopt this, and they want to do it because they are experiencing these adverse impacts. So for Tanzania, what I've shown them that if they use carbon farming, they can actually create a $21 trillion exportable carbon credits. And here's how it works. See, what I'm telling them that have the companies or industries who are putting out the carbon emissions, they pay the farmer to adopt carbon farming, and they get 2 credits for one. One they offset there, one they sell it in the world market. They make money, farmer makes money, government doesn't have to put up any money. Because these approaches will not succeed if they're not a business and a self-sustainable approach. For India, I put together a similar approach where the government, if it will make a policy, India is only one of the few countries which has a requirement that if the companies have certain amount of revenues, they have to allocate certain amount of funds, what they call corporate social responsibility. So if the government will make a policy, carbon farming, and they allow the companies to pay the farmers and qualify as a CSR, that will then again do a same 2 to 1, where they offset one with their emissions and one they trade. India will make a lot of money. So there, we need to create a creative ways so that they will become a self-sustainable. Otherwise, governments cannot continue to put up trillions of dollars. Government needs to help to get these and deployed and get the policies in place. Tanzania has actually done a systematic analysis of all their soils under the United Nations requirement. And basically, here are the conclusion. Their soils are so depleted, less than 1%. We are experiencing a huge problem with the fires. And these are related because the trees have virtually no place, their roots are so shallow, they fall. You can see that the trees are 40, 50 feet high, but their roots are only like 1 or 2 or 3, 4 feet. So they fall, they dry, and they are the source of the fuel, which is what triggers the fires. So So we need to create a ways to make these forests, the trees, with a higher moisture, because 15% level, the trees self-ignite. And that's one of the challenges we have. And right now we have huge fires going on in Canadian Rockies and so many other places. So there is a lot of opportunities with these products we make. And so what I'm final point I want to make, that Rotary has a huge, powerful presence in the world. So we need to have Rotary create a global funded project through the United Nations. In fact, one of the Rotarian at the United Nations, Mr. Paul D. Schenker, is in charge of some of the largest programs to help create solutions. So then Rotary clubs can be funded. I'm not looking for a single dollar. I'm looking for ways so that we can deploy these solutions. And this is what I like to do. And maybe hopefully we'll follow up with this. And I have one more slide where I'm looking for the Washington Rotary Club to become the technical support group. And so that way, I've created a approach where, then we have a team from the Washington Club who can then guide the Rotary clubs all over the world in terms of how to do it, how to get them validated, and then support all of those type of things. So that is my plea, and I'm really honored to have this opportunity to come and share with you. Thank you.
What I take from your presentation is you're taking the basic coal, humus, and thereby fertilizing the soil. Am I correct in that?
No, we take that coal and we have a biotech approach to extract the humic acid out of it.
Okay, but basically converting it to something that allows the soil to be regenerated and thereby get credits for that.
Yeah.
In terms of the net neutrality aspect. So I think this is a huge development, and I applaud you for that. This is a revelation to me that should be made known to the world.
Our club has a tradition of planting a tree in the honor of our speakers, our guests, and we will plant a tree in your name here in Washington, D.C. It will contribute to to taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, and the GPS coordinates will be known to you. You can find your tree, and here's the certificate for that and a pin. And sincere thanks.
Thank you. If I may add, I have offered to this club to support, give my product for 300 trees, and I've gotten already approval for use of my product by the park authority.
All right.
So I'm waiting for you guys to plant trees. We'll have a load of product.
Put it on yours.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.